Combat styles are a new way of being able to choose how you fight with your character in combat in Star Wars: The Old Republic, introduced in the 7.0 Legacy of the Sith expansion. Before the expansion, you were limited to 2 advanced classes depending on which class you picked. For example, if you chose the Jedi Knight as your class, you could only choose to fight as a Guardian or Sentinel as your advanced class. Combat styles are shaking up these restrictions by separating your story from the way you fight in-game. For example, in the expansion, you can now play as a Jedi Knight, as a Shadow, with a double-bladed lightsaber, or even as a Sorcerer and use Force Lightning, all while playing the Jedi Knight origin story. Force users will be restricted to Force-using combat styles, previously known as advanced classes, and tech users are restricted to tech-using combat styles. There's also an additional restriction when it comes to dark side and light side combat styles when it comes to Jedi and Sith. When creating a character, you won't be able to pick up dark side combat styles as a Jedi unless you have also unlocked the Dark 5 achievement through your legacy. And you'll need the Light 5 achievement if you want to choose a light side combat style for your Sith character. Tech users are able to choose from all 8 combat styles right away. For example, you can easily play as a Trooper Sniper from level 1. You'll have all the combat abilities of your chosen combat style. For example, if you choose to play a Sith Inquisitor for the story, but choose the Juggernaut combat style, you won't have any Force Lightning when you go into combat, even if you use it in the cutscenes in the story. The new combat style options are something I'm very excited about, as I like to play a lot of different characters, and this opens up a lot of interesting options. So now I'm going to jump into a set of frequently asked questions when it comes to the combat style system. If you've had any questions about combat styles, your question is probably in here somewhere. So here we go. Will the new character creator be in the expansion at launch? Yup. Next question. I'm a brand new free-to-play player. I'm creating a Jedi Knight for the story. Can I choose the Sentinel, Guardian, or the newer options, the Sage or the Shadow combat styles right away at level 1? Or are there any restrictions? Nope, no restrictions. You can create those characters very easily, level 1, even as a brand new player, even as a free-to-play player. Okay, but what if I'm a brand new player? Can I create those dark side combat styles for my Jedi Knight, like the Juggernaut and the Sorcerer? The answer is no. If I'm a brand new player, I wouldn't be able to because I do not have the Legacy of Sacrifice. I do not have the Dark 5 unlock. Once I do have that unlocked though, those options would be available right away for all future characters in the character creation screen. Okay, so I'm an experienced player. I have Dark 5 unlocked. Can I create that crazy combination of a Jedi Knight in this story, but using a Sorcerer combat style right away at level 1? The answer is yes! You will have all options, dark and light, available for that Jedi Knight character. Nice. Alright, I'm an experienced player. Can my existing character change their original advanced class or their original combat style? For example, I started off as a Trooper Vanguard. Can I change that Vanguard to Operative and then add a second one? Ooh, the answer is no. So this is from the developers. We originally planned to allow players to switch their primary combat style with existing characters upon loading up 7.0. Unfortunately, we discovered some technical hurdles that will prevent us from supporting that. So upon login, existing characters will maintain their existing advanced class, which will be converted into their first combat style. Eligible players will still be free to choose their second combat style, so that would be subscribers. There's also been a lot of misconceptions about how the combat style system works. I've gotten this question a lot. Will I be able to fight like one combat style, but use the weapons of a different one? For example, fight like a Marauder, but use a double-bladed lightsaber like Darth Maul? Or be a Guardian with 2 lightsabers? No. I'm sorry. You will be restricted to the weapon of your chosen combat style. Another misconception I've seen a lot is, will I be able to combine my 2 chosen combat styles together? For example, use like Force Lightning and Force Choke at the same time on a Sorcerer/Marauder? No, sorry. You can only have one combat style active at a time. You can, however, swap between them fairly easily. You just can't combine them at the exact same time. So what about if I choose the Sith Inquisitor for the story and use Force Lightning in the cutscenes? Will I still be able to use some lightning if I choose the non-lightning related Juggernaut or Marauder combat styles? No. If there's a specific ability you want to be able to use, for example, a lightning, you must choose the combat style related to that. Yes, it is a bit strange you'll get lightning in the story, but not when fighting. One cool thing though is that in many of the cutscenes you will be holding the correct weapon. For example, if you're playing a Sith warrior, you choose to play a assassin, and you have a double-bladed lightsaber, you will see that in the cutscenes most of the time. And just to clarify, will I be able to use some dark side and some light side abilities at the same time, like Force Choke and Force Sweep, and pick which ones I want? No, you can only use the abilities of your current active combat style. But you could choose Guardian as your first combat style, and then choose Juggernaut as your second, and you could swap between the two. Play some fights as dark side abilities and other fights as light side abilities. You just can't do both at the same time in the same fight. And lastly, can I be a pistol-wielding Jedi? Pew pew! No. So players are restricted to Force combat styles for Force users and tech combat styles for tech users. I'm sorry, yes, I know you could do that in Knights of the Old Republic. You cannot do that in Star Wars The Old Republic. So apart from being really excited about the whole combat style switch-up options, I'm also excited that subscribers will be able to add a second combat style to their characters, including existing characters. So right away, the first thing I'm going to do when logging into my characters for the first time is I'm going to add a second combat style to my main character. She's currently a Vanguard tank. I'm going to be adding the operative combat style to her, so when I want to switch over, I can be a healer, as well as I can use stealth while playing as an operative, and when I want to tank, I can swap right back. This addition did, of course, bring a bunch of new questions asked by players, so let's jump into them. First off, when can a brand new player add a second combat style to their character? After they complete their Chapter 3 origin story, then they'll be able to immediately choose a second combat style via a mission in their mission login tracker. Don't forget, they do have to be a subscriber for that second combat style. Now, for existing characters, if I already have a trooper who's finished all her class story, including Chapter 3, when can I get a second combat style for her? The answer is as soon as you log in once the expansion is launched. You just get to choose one right away from a mission in your mission log. For players who have already leveled up at least one character through Chapter 3 of their class story, any type of character, any class, things get especially interesting when you create a new character. This is because any character completing their Act 3 origin story unlocks the ability legacy-wide to choose a second combat style immediately after character creation. So once you actually enter the game, the mission is available and in your mission log and tracker. One important note here, boosting a character will not count towards this unlock, just as it doesn't count towards legendary status. And lastly, can free-to-play and preferred players have a second combat style? No, the second combat style is for subscribers only. It's a major perk of subscribing. If you are a subscriber and switch to preferred, like you have two combat styles and you're downgrading to preferred, you will be stuck with your currently chosen combat style until you resubscribe. So if you've got some existing characters who are aligned with the opposite alignment of their faction. For example, you have a Jedi, but they lean towards the dark side, or you have a Sith that leans towards the light side. Or you're a new character who's playing those types of opposite alignment characters. There's some crazy stuff going on when it comes to flipping your character, and it's a bit confusing. I hope these questions kind of clarify how that works. So first off, if you have an existing character who has any amount of dark or light points on the opposite side, so a Jedi that's dark aligned, or a Sith that is light aligned, and you have them created before the expansion, you will have the option to flip their original combat style, their original advanced class, to the mirror. So for example, if I'm playing a light aligned Sith Juggernaut, I will have the option to flip them to a guardian. I would still be a Sith warrior, but I would be a Sith warrior guardian, and I could use those kind of blue sparkly effects on my abilities and attack like a guardian would attack. What's also interesting about when you flip a character, even if you don't have the Dark 5 achievement or the Light 5 achievement, you can still pick an opposite aligned combat style for your second combat style. So for example, if I'm a brand new player, I have a light side aligned Juggernaut and I decide to flip them to make them a guardian, I can still also add as my second one a sage, or I could pick a classic dark side one like the sorcerer. So if you flip a character, you will be able to add a second combat style of either dark or light to that flipped character. So let's say you're playing a more normally aligned character. You're playing a dark Sith or a light side Jedi. If you aren't crossing faction and alignment lines, you can only add an opposite dark or light combat style as your second combat style if you have the Dark 5 or Light 5 achievement unlock. There is one major misconception players have about this whole flip-flopping thing. Like, let's say you're a real experienced player, you maybe already have Dark 5 and Light 5 unlocked, and you decide for a new character you're making after the expansion launches to play a classic redemption arc. So you're going to make a Sith warrior, and you're slowly going to move them towards the light side, and you'd really like to have that Juggernaut flip to a guardian to show that they've made that travel from dark to light. Unfortunately, you won't be able to flip that character because when you're creating that character, because you already had Dark 5 and Light 5 unlocked, you had the option to make that Sith warrior a guardian from level 1 straight away at the character creator, so it won't give you the option to flip it later. The flip option is mainly for players who did not have the option to start with. Okay, so now we're probably going to talk about my favorite part of the expansion, and this is loadouts and the ability to easily switch between these combat styles. So if you have 2 combat styles chosen, that's 2 advanced classes from old lingo, you would have a total of 6 disciplines to choose from. So 6 different kind of ways of fighting, healing, or tanking in combat. And not only do all 6 of those disciplines have different abilities attached to them, you also have different choices, maybe different gear, maybe different places you put the abilities on your bar for each one. And if you had to switch all this manually, you would go crazy. We're already going kind of crazy pre-expansion without this option. The new thing that's being added is called loadouts. Loadouts allow you to save your settings while switching between disciplines or combat styles with the click of a button. So before the expansion launched, here are the settings that the developers said would save pre-expansion. So what would save? Your choice of discipline and your choice of combat style. It would save your ability tree choices, so the choices about your discipline. It would save your ability locations on your ability bars. Yes! It'll save your outfit, or rather which outfit slot you chose. And it should also in some way save your equipped gear. It's not perfect, it's not like an extra gear inventory or anything like that, but it does know what gear should be in which slot. A lot of my questions involve when can you switch, how often you can switch, and the devs were really nice enough to answer these for me. When can I change from one of my chosen combat styles to the second one and vice versa? For example, sniper to mercenary. Could I change from Vanguard to Commando between bosses in operation? Is there a timer or a cost in an instance, in a queue, in combat? So here's the developer answer. Anytime you change discipline, which includes changing combat styles or loadouts that contain a different discipline or combat style, there is a 5-second cooldown before you can change disciplines again. The rules are, you cannot change combat styles or disciplines inside an operation, flashpoint, PvP warzone, or arena, or while in combat. So if you're in an operation or flashpoint and need to switch from tank to healer or to DPS, you'll need to step outside the instance first. You cannot change combat styles or disciplines while in a queue, so just leave queue and switch. There is no cost to change. You can change combat styles and disciplines outside of those restrictions anytime if you have unlocked the Field Respecialization perk. So this is actually a perk that many players already have. It costs, I think, about 250,000 credits in your legacy unlocks, and it just lets you switch on the fly. If you have not unlocked the Field Respec perk, you can change combat styles and disciplines in any sanctuary, typically cantinas, also known as rest areas. For all of the above restrictions, the same restrictions apply to switching loadouts, so would also contain the change. For example, a switch from one loadout for a Vanguard to another with Commando would be restricted according to the above rules. So in addition to being able to change combat styles and disciplines, there's also these new choices you can make called ability tree choices. You might make one ability hit multiple targets or a single target or make you move faster, stuff like that. More minor changes to the way your abilities work. So my next question is, when can I change a choice on my tree to a different one? Can I change it easily between bosses in an operation for utility, like favoring speed over damage? Is there a timer or a cost in an instance, in a queue, in a combat? You can change these choices at any time while not in combat. There is no timer or cost. The exception is in PvP matches. You can change between rounds, but not during the match. Also important to note, if you had loadout 1 and loadout 2 and the only difference between the two is ability tree choices, you would be able to swap between the two according to the same rules. That is awesome. So if you're not actually switching disciplines or combat styles, you can use your loadouts to switch between different presets very easily, it sounds like. And lastly, I've heard a lot of players asking if they need multiple sets of armor, since you can have up to 6 disciplines to choose from on one character. The answer is sort of. You will likely be able to get away with sharing one single set of armor between them if you're a very casual player. Frequent players, especially doing group content, will want at least 2 sets if they're playing multiple roles, for example, to switch between healing and tanking. Lastly, set bonuses on your armor are going away and are instead changing to be attached to your legendary implants. So you will likely want to try and earn multiple different tacticals and legendary implants, one for each of the disciplines you plan to play to give you bonuses directly related to your discipline. I have a strong suspicion, though, I'm going to be reusing my main armor across most of my disciplines and most of my loadouts. I hope you enjoyed this super in-depth, thorough question and answer about these Star Wars The Old Republic combat styles that are being added to the game. If you listened to all of this, congratulations! You can now practically teach a class to new players about how this sucker works. If you want to learn more about the expansion, especially near its launch, visit satorisa.com, as I'll be posting what I find as I find it on the website. Videos take a lot longer to make. I'll see you all in the expansion, and may the Force be with you. If you want to show your support for this channel covering Star Wars The Old Republic, our favorite game, visit satorisa.com/support. Or if you want more videos like this to show up on your YouTube homepage, subscribe to this channel. See you later!